The Cleveland Browns are standing at the most critical fork in the road we have seen in a decade, and frankly, the stakes have never been higher.
We are watching a franchise try to shed its skin in real time.
We are watching them pivot from the polished, corporate, smartest guy in the room era of Kevin Stefanski to something completely different.
Something younger. Something hungrier.
And if the latest reports are true, we are about to witness one of the biggest gambles and potentially one of the biggest payoffs in NFL history. But before we break down the two young geniuses who have suddenly become the favorites to lead this team, we have to address the news that dropped earlier today. It is officially time to close the book on the past. Kevin Stefanski has found his new home, and he is taking his baggage with him. The Atlanta Falcons are hiring Tommy Rees as their offensive coordinator. To the fans in Atlanta, I genuinely wish you good luck.
You are going to need it.
We just watched that movie for an entire season in Cleveland.
We watched the stagnant play calling. We watched an offense that refused to adapt to its personnel. We watched a system that looked like it was designed in a laboratory rather than on a football field. The fact that Stefanski is running it back with the exact same right-hand man tells you everything you need to know about his refusal to evolve. But that is no longer our headache. That adult in the room is gone. Now, we look at what comes next.
And if you have been paying attention to the rumors coming out of Berea, the philosophy has shifted violently.
Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry aren't looking for a safe, retread head coach.
They aren't looking for a 500 coach who can stabilize the ship.
They are swinging for the fences. They are hunting for a unicorn.
The reports are confirmed. The Browns are zeroing in on a future star model. They want a young, offensive mastermind to pair with Jim Schwartz. And two names have risen above the rest as legitimate finalists: Grant Udinski of the Jacksonville Jaguars and Nate Scheelhaase of the Los Angeles Rams. Let's stop and really look at this strategy, because on paper, it is actually brilliant. The plan is simple: you hire a 30-year-old offensive genius who lives, breathes, and sleeps football. You let him completely modernize the quarterback room. You let him bring the McVay or the Shanahan style of offense to Cleveland. And then, you pay Jim Schwartz head coaching money, $5, maybe $6 million a year, to stay on as the assistant head coach. You let Schwartz be the CEO of the defense. You let him manage the locker room culture. You let him be the veteran presence who keeps the train on the tracks while the young kid lights up the scoreboard. It is the perfect marriage of youth and experience. But who are these guys?
Let's start with the name that has everyone buzzing: Grant Udinski.
If you don't know his story, you need to, because this is the kind of hunger that Cleveland has been starving for.
Grant Udinski just turned 30 years old. He is currently the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars. But he didn't get there because of nepotism. He didn't get there because he knew the right people at a country club.
When Udinski was trying to break into coaching, he drove his Honda CR-V to Baylor University to work for Matt Rule.
He didn't have a job. He didn't have an apartment.
He slept in his car in a Walmart parking lot just for the chance to be a graduate assistant. He slept at the facility in Minnesota when he was with the Vikings so he could run routes for the quarterbacks after hours. Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars quarterback, said in mid-December that he has never met anyone like him. He said Udinski leaves no stone unturned in preparation. Liam Cohen, the Jaguars head coach, called him an elite communicator with zero ego.
He is a grinder. He is a football obsessive.
Think about the contrast between that and what we just had.
We just had the Ivy League, buttoned-up, analytical approach.
It was sterile.
It was cold. Grant Udinski is the opposite. He is fire. He is passion.
He is the guy who will sleep on the floor of his office if it means finding one extra weakness in the Steelers' defense.
That is the kind of energy that changes a culture.
That is the kind of energy that makes players want to run through a brick wall.
Then, you have option B, Nate Scheelhaase.
If you are a believer in the Sean McVay effect, this is the guy you want. Scheelhaase has been incubating in the Los Angeles Rams system, learning directly from McVay for the last 2 seasons. We have seen what that coaching tree produces. We have seen Zach Taylor, Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell.
It is a factory for head coaches. Scheelhaase is also a former quarterback. He played at Illinois. He sees the game through the eyes of the guy under center. If the Browns want to unlock their quarterback room, whether that is a draft pick or a veteran, having a head coach who has literally stood in the pocket and made those throws is invaluable. If the Browns hire Scheelhaase, they are betting that he is the next McVay. And at 35 years old, he fits the timeline perfectly. So, here is the question of the day I need you to answer in the comments right now. Is this youth movement the stroke of genius we need, or is it a disaster waiting to happen? Can a 30-year-old Grant Udinski really command a room of grown men, some of whom are older than him? Or does the presence of Jim Schwartz make that a non-issue? Let me know, genius or mistake. But folks, we have to talk about the disaster scenario. Because while we are sitting here getting excited about these young offensive minds, the Browns front office may have just fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line. We have a massive problem with the Rooney Rule, and it could cost us our dream candidate. For those who don't know, the NFL rules state that a team must interview at least 2 external minority candidates in person before they can make a hire. The Browns had a plan. They were going to interview Mike McDaniel. He was going to be one of those checks. But Mike McDaniel withdrew from the process. He looked at the job and said, "No thanks." So right now, as I speak to you, the Cleveland Browns legally cannot hire anyone. They haven't satisfied the rule. They are blocked. And here is why that is terrifying: the secret about Grant Udinski is out. For weeks, it felt like only Cleveland knew how special this kid was. But now, the Buffalo Bills have requested to interview him. The Buffalo Bills' job is attractive. They have Josh Allen. They have stability. They have a winning culture. If the Bills bring Udinski in, fall in love with him, and offer him the job tomorrow, they can hire him. Cleveland cannot. We are sitting here with our hands tied because Andrew Berry and the front office didn't have a backup plan. We are now in a position where we have to find a minority candidate who is willing to fly to Cleveland for an interview that they know, and we know, is essentially a sham. Who is going to do that? Who is going to waste their time just so the Browns can check a box and hire Grant Udinski? It is insulting to the candidates, and it is negligent by the front office. Imagine the nightmare scenario: Grant Udinski walks into his interview with the Browns later this week. He blows them away. It's the best interview they have ever seen. They want to offer him the contract on the spot. But they can't. They have to tell him, "Hey, hang tight, we need to find someone else to interview first." And in that window of time, the Buffalo Bills swoop in, offer him the job, and he takes it. If that happens, if we lose the next great head coach because of a scheduling error, the fanbase should be absolutely furious. It would be a fireable offense for the general manager. You cannot let bureaucracy cost you a Super Bowl window. So, we are entering the most critical 48 hours of this entire offseason. The board is set. Grant Udinski is scheduled to interview on Friday. Nate Scheelhaase is waiting for the Rams season to end. Jim Schwartz is in the building, waiting to see who his new boss is going to be. The pieces are there for a home run. The vision is correct. Going young, going offensive, and keeping the veteran defensive coordinator is the right play. But the execution has to be flawless from here on out. We cannot afford any more slip-ups. We cannot afford to let Buffalo steal our guy. This is it, Cleveland. The future is knocking on the door. It's driving a Honda CR-V, it's sleeping in the office, and it's obsessed with winning football games. Now, we just have to hope the front office can get out of its own way long enough to let him in. Keep your eyes glued to the news. If you see the Browns announce a random interview in the next 24 hours, know that it is the final hurdle before the big announcement. We are on the clock.